Welcome, everyone, to Let's Talk Real Estate Investing. In this series, I chat with real estate investing professionals, but of all different stages in their journey in real estate investing, and service providers to help empower you to build your personalized real estate investing strategy. My name is Debbie Balfour, and I'm a real estate investor and a real estate investing success coach. So I coach my clients to build their personalized real estate investing strategy and scale efficiently. What that means is building the processes around your business so that you can scale efficiently and start enjoying your financial freedom, but most of all, your time freedom. Each of us are unique, and each of us, that means that our strategy should be unique to us. So if you enjoy this podcast, please hit that like button and subscribe so that you can get more of these notifications of when the next podcast is coming out. I am very honored today to be speaking uh, to Huong Luu. Huong is a seasoned real estate investor. She's a private lender and a coach of 25 years of experience, owning over 101 doors and managing 1 million in private financings. She's an number one best-selling author. She's co-written two books, Rising Above the Rest, Path to Mortgage Freedom, and Secrets to Wealth with Brian Tracy. With a background in chemical engineering, she transitioned. That's a big transition. So we'll ask her a little about that from her chemical engineering to real estate investing full time after being laid off during the 2008 2009 crisis and later overcoming traditional banking limitations in 2019. As the owner of Cash Property Inc. and Property Capital Corp., she specializes in innovative real estate solutions and private lending. The Hung is passionate about empowering others to build wealth through strategic real estate investing and mentorship. As the director on the Courts Housing Society, she actively supports affordable housing initiatives, believing that how home ownership should be accessible to all. With decades of experience, she brings that wealth of knowledge to the table, helping investors navigate real estate with confidence and success. So, over to you, Hung, to speak a bit more. Like, I want to hear a bit more about you, about your journey in real estate, how you did that transition.
Yeah, thanks, Debbie, for that great intro. The transition from a full-time engineering job to real estate was something that took some time to plan. It wasn't something that I had originally started, growing up or thinking that I wanted to be a real estate investor. It was something that, real estate was something like a side hobby that I was doing for years. And then one day I realized, oh, I've got a bunch of doors here, and I could, if I really wanted to, I could just make that transition out. And so having that option, that flexibility was super important for me at that time because I was thinking about starting a family and the job situation as a full-time engineer wasn't as stable as I thought it would be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And was a lot of money and time invested in becoming an engineer.
Yeah. So when I graduated from engineering school, I got a letter from the bank saying, "Hey, congratulations, you've graduated. You owe us $45,000." This was back in the 90s when I got my degree. So,
Mm.
you add several years to that, it's a lot more now. And I remember thinking, what? Like that's a lot of money. How am I ever going to pay this off? Right. And then I was like, maybe I didn't need this degree. Like maybe I could have just gotten a job right out of high school and just done just as well without worrying about this massive debt now in front of me that I have to pay forever.
And how many years you weren't working full time, too, right?
Sorry.
Because you were studying.
Oh, well, yeah, it was a 5-year program,
Yeah.
right? So now one of the things about me, Debbie, is that even though I was in school full time, I had about 3 or 4 part-time jobs, right?
Yeah.
And that drive to constantly sort of make sure I had money coming in really helped set up my budgeting around real estate investing.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
let's talk a bit more about your journey in real estate investing. Like when you first started,
Mhm.
what did you start with? What kind of investing did you start doing?
Ah, so I came from a background where there was no investors, there was no like back then in the 90s, there was no networking groups that I could go to, let alone, relatives that I could lean on to learn stuff about this. So my very first place was by accident, complete luck. It was a triplex in downtown Toronto. And I met a real estate agent who believed that, hey, you know what? As long as you had nine or $10,000, you had enough money to put down as a down payment for a place. So, yeah, so, a lot of us can't do that now, but, with the new programs out there, that option is now available again. But when I started, Debbie, like there was no guidance. Like I was house hacking without even knowing what house hacking was, right? I became an instant landlord overnight without even knowing that there were landlord tenant rules, right? Like everything was just sort of learned on the fly. And I was very lucky. I had a family friend who was a general contractor. And so whenever there was anything that needed repairing, he was my go-to guy. And when he came over to do the renovations, I was shadowing him the entire time, right? So from the moment he walked in the door to the moment he packed up his tools and left, I was his constant shadow. And he was very sweet. Like he would let me ask questions. He would slow down the work and just walk me through it. And then after a while, he was like, Hung, you get in here and you do it. I'll supervise you. And so he started teaching me how to, change plumbing, right? How to read gadgets for the electrical and change out the doors and do drywalling. And, so, and this was over a period of time that I built this relationship,
Hmm.
right? And slowly learned how to like change locks and reinstall doors or dishwashers and stuff like that. But then once I started, it wasn't, once I got my first place and just kept paying down the rent, house hacking, learning all these things, it was just a very natural progression to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to keep saving some of my income and then buy my next place.
Hmm.
And it was a very easy process to do because it was just me, right? It wasn't, you know, yeah, it was just me trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I get my next down payment money? So by the time I got my next place, it was several years later. And then I bought my next place after that and my next place after that. Right. And so one of the things that I learned without really realizing that I was learning it was the concept of house hacking,
Hmm.
leveraging other people's money. Like my first place, none of that was my own money. It was actually money from the bank as my down payment money.
Right.
And my second place was actually funds from the bank of mom and dad. Right.
Yes.
And so I was very lucky that my dad was very supportive of me doing whatever I was doing because I couldn't explain it to him. I was just like, okay, Dad, I need some down payment money. I want to buy my next place. And so he agreed to give me that down payment money, which I paid back, and then my third place, I bought it again, leveraging my first two places, right? And then bought my fourth place, bought my fifth place. And I just kept going with that process of leveraging, using other people's money.
Hmm.
And pretty much in all of the places I've purchased, I've lived in them and house hacked in some way.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I've got over about 100 doors. I've got one car wash. I've got a couple of joint venture partners as well. So I don't live in all my places now. Yeah. So it's been and the because I got into real estate when I did, it set up that foundation for me to make a lot of life choices. It gave me a lot of options that I wouldn't have if I had just stuck to a 9 to 5 job.
Definitely. Yeah. That is amazing, Hung. I think you're very inspirational. I know,
Yeah.
back when I was young too, I thought about real estate investing, but again, there was no internet, there was no thing, I didn't know where to go, so I just kind of dismissed it, right? I didn't plug away and try to, I didn't think, well, maybe talk to a realtor or talk to somebody else that's doing this. I just was like, oh, probably won't get a mortgage, probably can't do it. I just kind of talked myself out of it. So
Yeah.
I
Debbie,
think
I didn't
that's
even know what a
amazing.
mortgage was back then or what a down payment was. Like this agent was just like, Hong, if you've got, 9,500, which I think was what I had at that time, because he said, Hong, how much money do you have? And I said, I think I have 9,000 bucks. Like that was all the money I had to my name at that
Yeah.
time. And he goes, okay, well, if you've got that, I'll connect you with somebody to help you get a mortgage. Right. I didn't even know what a mortgage agent was. Like, or, like I didn't even know what property taxes were.
Mm-hmm.
And so just learning that and just sort of having faith or belief that somebody else would just sort of guide me through it.
Yes, yeah. And I think that's what you did by working alongside someone else. I think that is something that works today too, and I would highly recommend like
Yeah.
partnering if you don't have money and you're not, ready so partner with like ask someone, will you teach me? And there's so many people that are so willing to teach others.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I do that regularly. So like right now I do coaching and I coach families on how to pay off their mortgage. I coach other investors who are new to acquire more properties.
mhm.
And that the cost of getting coaching always comes up as a barrier,
Yeah. One
right?
second, I'm just gonna close my door.
Oh, okay. The joys of working from home.
Yes, my son's come by and he keeps slamming doors. I don't know what's going on with all these slamming of doors. So it's
Yeah. I couldn't hear it, so it's okay.
it
Yeah.
was annoying me.
Oh,
So that's wonderful. So I really love the story of how you started, and it still applies today. I think even more so, right? Like you can do these things, because I've had people come to me and say, "Well, Debbie, I can't afford your course. What can I do?" And so,
mhm.
well, then find somebody that's willing to train you, that you'll give your like work for free, because learning with someone is just as much a payment,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
So my contractor in Toronto, who I love, he's been working with me for over 6 or 7 years now. And he'll be one of the guys that I contact saying, hey, you know what? I know somebody who wants to get into real estate and they want to learn how to fix things.
Hmm.
And he come on your site and work with you, right? And my contractor will actually pay them to do the work, but they'll get the proper training,
Yeah.
right? That's so important to be able just to ask for that help, to ask for that support, saying, hey, you know what? I want to learn how to do flips. I want to learn how to renovate. Who can I go to get that support and that training that I need?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's such a helpful hint to helpful tip for
Mm,
for others now starting off.
yeah.
So here you are today with 101 doors. You've got a car wash. So what's your projects that you're working on right now?
I've got a couple of projects going on right now. One is a 40 unit building that we already own, and we're actually adding or converting is the proper word. We're converting the mechanical rooms into 5 bachelor units, and so brand new non-existing units
Hmm.
will exist, and these will actually see the full gain on these from the 5 unit rentals, and that alone will increase the property value by about $1.8 million.
Wow, that's
It's
incredible. What
insane.
are you doing with the mechanical room then?
Well, the room
Where's
is
that
actually
going?
big enough. It's actually used as storage right now. It is such a big space and it already has the bathroom. It already has all the electrical. It's got its own separate entrance. And so we're actually able just to put up drywall and then add in a separate door for the mechanical room and then make a bachelor unit.
Oh my goodness, so much wasted space.
Exactly. Right. It's so crazy. So like when my business partners told me about this idea, I'm like, that is the simplest, easiest way to increase, like to force appreciation.
Yes.
And we're seeing the full value. It's not like an existing unit and then we're just renovating it and seeing like one or two, $300 lift. We're seeing like a full thousand, full $1,500 lift.
Well, you're adding several new units, right?
Yeah,
So that's incredible. That's
yeah,
great. So
yeah.
that's really thinking outside the box. Like, look where I've got this space that isn't being used, and what can I do with it?
Yeah. So that's one project that I'm working on. The other one is a new development project on the island in Vancouver. It's 68 purpose-built rental units plus three commercials. And we're basically like we own the land and we're actually raising funds to do the build. The challenge with this property is that we have the DP, the development permits, and we have the building permits already set up, Debbie.
Hmm.
But the building permit is $1 million.
Just to just to get that building permit.
Just a
Wow.
just a
So
million dollars.
So these are things I think that you've brought up a good point of when you're looking at land development, everybody think, oh, land development, you'll make lots of money, but that initial cost, like just simple things that it's not just about the construction, like just that building permit is a
Yeah,
million dollars.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then all the due diligence you have to do around it. And
And the holding cost. So when somebody talks to me about a land development opportunity,
Mhm.
instantly it's a 2-year time frame, minimum 2 years time frame. Then you add on any delays, any sort of time to rezone, any time to get any permits or anything like that. So luckily for us, we've already got all of the paperwork and we're
Yes,
shovel ready to go. It's just that we need the money,
right.
right? So
Mhm.
with this particular project and our contractors are already lined up to go, the builder's ready, they're shovel ready to go. So we're anticipating 18 to 24 months in the build at the most,
Right.
right?
So your time right now is to actually raise the capital
Yeah.
to get
Yes.
going. That's
Yeah.
what's that's
Yeah.
what's holding you back there.
Yeah. 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 Because, and the difficulty is that we don't want to raise just a portion and then start and then have to stop and then raise some more. Like our goal is to raise the full amount so that we know that we can just finish and execute in 18 months.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
So,
The third project that I'm working on is not on an asset ownership, um, but more on coaching real estate agents on how to interact with investors. So
oh, I was thinking about doing that here too. It's such a gap.
there's a huge gap. And
Yeah.
I have a lot of agents call me and present opportunities. And I'm like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Right. And like when I say to them, hey, is this property cash flowing? They'll
Hmm.
be like, oh, of course it's cash flowing, right? And so then when I dig down the numbers with them, they haven't included the mortgage, they haven't included like property management fees. And so what I find is that, with those agents, after the first opportunity they present me and I realize that they don't run their numbers properly, I probably won't reach out to them again.
Yep. They're not very good at calculating ARV either.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so this coaching program that I'm doing will teach agents how to talk the talk, walk the walk, how to present and
Hmm.
how to build that long-term relationship with investors. Because as investors, we don't just buy one or two properties, we buy
Exactly.
lots,
They've got
right?
a lifetime person here and
Yeah.
all the referrals.
Exactly, and all the referrals. And it's one of those things where if as an agent, if you can understand it so that you can build your investor client base,
Hmm.
but then now you've got this knowledge for your own use, right? So as a real estate agent, you're there looking at all these opportunities. If you know what's a good opportunity for an investor, well, why
Hmm.
wouldn't you look at acquiring it for yourself? Right.
Yes.
And so it's really making sure that it's not just investors that are making money and growing their portfolio for generational wealth, but it's also helping other individuals who are in the industry but don't actually understand.
Yes,
Mm.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to chat. Maybe we can collaborate on this
We're
because I
chatting
I
right
had
now,
the same
Debbie.
idea.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we see the more we talk to each other, this is the important thing about relationship building. the more you speak to someone, you find out more about what they're doing and what they're thinking, and then you find so many more alignment with each
Yeah.
other. So
Yeah.
that's really key there. So before we started, I asked you, what's your passion,
Mm.
topic that you like you could just talk to everybody about when it comes to real estate investing? And you said mortgage freedom. So tell me more about mortgage freedom.
So the idea of being mortgage free came up because one of my girlfriends, who was visually impaired, came to me one day and she goes, Hong, I don't know how I'm going to ever retire and make sure that I can upkeep my life. She had a condo at that time. And I said, well, look, if we can figure out how to get you to be mortgage free, you're going to be able to continue this lifestyle that you have without worrying about buying any more properties, right? She was under the impression that because she was visually impaired, she couldn't manage properties on her own. Like, so to acquire more real estate was just not in her sphere of capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And so I worked with her to come up with this concept of being mortgage free. And we were implementing that before she passed away. And what I realized from doing that was that a lot of people don't realize that they are able to be mortgage free. Even with one, two, as many properties as they have, they are
Mm-hmm.
able to achieve that mortgage freedom. And by being mortgage free, you're able to have all that extra cash that you're making every month stay with you so that you could live, travel, do the things that you want to do, have options,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I came up with the concept of being mortgage free in 10 years. And
Okay.
it's a short read, it's a weekend read. And I basically put down this concept that I developed with my girlfriend at that time because I realized that I was actually doing this mortgage freedom program for all of my own properties. I paid off my student loan in 2 years. That $45,000 loan I was telling you about, Debbie, I paid that off in 2 years. And
Right.
so when I looked back on how I did it, it was pretty much the same concept here. And so in this book, I lay out the concept of the GLAD method, which is GLAD. And
Okay.
it's so simple. It's just four things that you just have to do, or combination of those four things. And anybody who has a mortgage is able to do it.
Okay. Can you give us like the
High end. Yeah.
highest level of explanation of what GLAD means,
Yeah.
what it
So
is?
GLAD means to go accelerated, lump sum, annual increases on your mortgage payment, and a double up payment. So
Okay.
as long as you do one or any combination of those four things. So for example, if you go accelerated, so going from a monthly payment
Mm-hmm.
to
To
an
biweekly,
accelerated,
like
well,
something.
as long as it's accelerated, it could be
Right.
weekly or biweekly,
Okay.
you instantly knock off 2 to 3 years of your mortgage
Mm-hmm.
just right off the bat, just from doing that.
Okay.
Right. And a lot of people don't realize that every single month they can actually pay an additional, if they want, up to 100% of their monthly payment if they want to. So
Right.
like if your mortgage payment is 2,000, you can actually pay an additional 2,000 if you have that every single month,
Yep.
right? So just by doing any combination of those four things, the GLAD method, you can drastically truncate down your 25, 30-year mortgage down to under 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I did something like that without any training myself. I was so what I did was I would like when I first bought my home, interest rates were high. So
Yes.
this concept, everybody's freaking out about the present interest rates. Well, they were way higher before. So when I came down to it, like when I got a 4.99, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Well, people that started like during COVID time and saw in still at 2% and they thinks that's normal. That's not
Yeah,
normal.
that's not normal. Yeah. Yeah. Like I
So
remember when I got my 9% interest rate mortgage, I was doing the happy dance because I was
yeah,
hearing about people getting 11 and 12. And I'm like, ooh, I got 9%. Oh, yeah.
yeah. So whenever I refinanced
Yeah.
and the rate was lower, I kept my payments the way I did because it was already budgeted for
Yeah.
that. So for
Yes.
the higher amount. So I just like keep taking out that. So I
Yes.
was, I was doing that. And then, yeah, if I got some extra money, like
That's a
if my
great
mom
strategy.
gave me some extra money or anything like that, I then put it on,
Yeah.
go to the bank and say, I'd like to put this onto
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
mortgage. And
Yeah.
yeah, I was able to, that's why I was able to like be mortgage free right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a huge difference.
Definitely.
And so, and then once you are mortgage free, there's so many ways to leverage that to be able to
Mhm.
buy more real estate if you want to, right? Or leverage that equity to do other types of investments that give you a more a purposeful, intentional life.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So,
So
yeah.
it's not so, I know a lot of investors go, don't worry paying off your mortgage. But for some of us, we like that freedom of not having to pay, like you said, not having to know, oh, I still have to make that monthly payment. So I have to have that job. Can't retire.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, you've got all this equity in your home that you can
Yeah.
now leverage
Yes.
to use.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
And the interest on that is tax deductible.
Correct. Exactly. Exactly. Which a lot of families don't realize that as long as they have a mortgage in place, it's not as beneficial to them. But once they convert that into an investment account and they leverage that, then you're absolutely right. That interest that they pay on that conversion is 100% tax deductible
Yeah.
if they buy real estate or businesses or stocks.
Yeah, definitely. So pay down your mortgage, but then take out the equity in your home that you've paid down and use that to invest.
Yes. Yes. So I can talk for hours about that.
So what's something else, or any other tips around how, how can people come up with with the money to do this?
To buy their first place or to
Well, to
just
pay
invest in them?
down. Well, yes. Well,
To pay down. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
What
um
are some tips around that? Like, where do you find that money so that you can keep paying down your mortgage?
yeah. So outside of the normal, like the side hustle or trying to get a higher paying job,
Hmm.
right? A lot of times looking at your property and being like, okay, well, can we add a secondary suite? Can we rent out the parking? Is there something that we could do with our physical space? So at one point, I had a three-bedroom home, that I had purchased, and it was just me at that time. And so I actually ended up renting out the other two rooms to international students, right?
Hmm.
And so it's just figuring out ways that you could just use what you have without leveraging more of your time, right?
Yes.
Because our time is so precious. So luckily for me, like at that point, I had the space to rent out,
Hmm.
right? The other thing too is looking, saying, okay, well, what sort of skill sets do you have, that you could leverage to make some extra cash,
Yes.
right? So
Hmm.
like one of my coaching clients, their big strength is marketing. And I said, okay, well, look, go and reach out to some real estate investors and offer to help them market their programs, their deals, whatever they're working on. And you trade your time for equity,
Hmm.
right? So then over, 2 to 5 years, depending on how long the project is, they would get some equity, some cash,
Right.
right? That cash now, go and dump that against your primary
Mhm.
property,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So it's not so much that you just need to find a new job or yeah, there's tons of different ways to actually get the cash. And another good example, Debbie, is a lot of people sit on an emergency fund,
Yes.
right? 3 months to 12 months worth of cash sitting in the bank account, right? So one of my suggestions is look to see if you can put that emergency fund into your mortgage, pay your mortgage down, have access to a HELOC, or make sure you have access to a credit card. Because when you do have an emergency, then that's when you want to reach into those sources.
Yeah.
A lot of us have emergency funds and we never use them. like for 10, 15 years.
And they're like with inflation, they're worth less
Yeah.
than you have there. So, and you're actually making money if you put it in your mortgage because now you're not paying that mortgage interest.
Yeah, exactly. So there, so on a couple of my videos, I actually go through that calculation to show what the return would be if you just took 20 or 50,000 from your emergency fund
Mm-hmm.
and just put that right into your mortgage.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then have it come back out in the line of credit,
In the line of credit or yeah,
or
and
if you
the
need
way.
it. But you're
Exactly.
not tying up money that's earning very low interest and while you're
Correct.
paying a much higher interest on the mortgage.
Correct. Yeah.
These are really great tips. So, we've heard that, to first of all, to put that to, put as much down, like go accelerated. So
Yes.
you said, so you're going to put instead of a monthly, you choose to biweekly or weekly on that mortgage, right?
And it has to be accelerated because you could do
Accelerated.
weekly and bi-weekly without it being accelerated.
Yes.
Right.
So yeah, so have that acceleration.
Mhm.
You can add any extra money that you receive and
Yeah.
to put down on it, or you can, double up on your
Yeah,
payments
100%.
uh,
Yeah.
on there. And like I had done, like if you've like now refinanced and you've got a lower interest rate, so and also of course you've got less money now because you've paid down, so that monthly payment would have been less. You've already budgeted for
Yeah.
that thing. Just keep paying that on there. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so
So
those are good,
yeah,
great.
so another tip that I do is so with my son, we've slated one of the properties for his education fund. So we basically purchased the property and that's his fund. So every single year it's increasing in appreciation and all that. And
Mm-hmm.
at some point when he goes to trade school or university, the funds are there.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever he gets birthday money or Christmas money or any sort of cash he makes from, chess playing or whatever, he'll say, Mom, put that towards the house. So basically, he's contributing to the monthly mortgage payments, and that just knocks it down too. Like it's not a ton of money, but
Mm-hmm.
every single dollar, he's contributing to his own property that he owns
Yes.
for his education fund.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And the earlier you start reducing those like
Mm,
that principal, then
yes.
you're paying less interest on it, and that
Yeah.
money can go back in. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
cyclical
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So
Like you raise a very good point there. Like a lot of people don't realize that the first 5 to 7 years, very little of their principal is even hit. Right?
hmm
Majority of their payments go towards the interest in those first, 4 to 5, like the first 5 to 7 years. Yeah.
yes. So getting that interest down, paying less interest. These are all ways you're actually making money that
Yes.
people don't think about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
With the same money that you have, you're making money on because you're paying so much in
Yeah.
interest when you
Yeah.
think about that.
Yes.
So yeah, so many people we have been trained to think just to save, save, save,
Yeah.
but no one's trained. Very few are trained to invest instead of save.
Hmm.
And what
Yeah.
that means. So
Yes.
these are, and these are just everyday tips. You don't have to be an investor that you're
Yeah.
sharing here,
Yeah.
right?
You don't need to be an investor or an engineer to do these things. Yeah. Yeah.
Just understand how the banking system works and how
Yeah.
you can make the most
Yeah.
out of it. So that's wonderful. So if you were to, for a first-time investor,
Mm.
if you were to share like your three top tips, what would
Okay.
those be?
Ooh. Well, one is just get in the market. Don't let the lack of money or the high interest rates, like whatever the reasoning is, just get in the market now. Just figure out a way to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The second tip I would say is don't over leverage though. Okay. Connect with you like Debbie or connect with me. Have somebody run you through what the monthly cost would be for you to get into this property. Make sure that you're not over leveraging.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the third tip I would say is that, you know, get coaching. Like there's so much knowledge that you would get within 3 to 6 months to a year of coaching. Like what I know in 25 years, I've truncated that down to about 6 months to a year for somebody.
Because we
Right.
had to learn the hard
Yeah.
way. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's so much knowledge that you really need to know. Right.
Hmm.
And so hiring a coach, getting somebody to work side by side with you to make sure that you understand what you're doing, being that sounding board can it could basically save you from making the worst purchase as your first purchase to making a very sound decision, right? So for example, like one of my clients, he said, Hong, I bought a $1 million condo. They basically put 5% down, and then they had to put another 5% down. So it was a pre-construction. And they, as a family, they make less than $200,000 a year. And I'm like, that is one of the worst decisions you can make. Like
Right
talk about
away, it's like negative cash flow. I don't
yeah,
even have to
yeah,
calculate. Don't
yeah,
have to run the
yeah.
numbers
It's
to
a
know.
condo, right? It just
Yes.
doesn't work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then another client of mine, you know, it was their first purchase, and they purchased, you know, in Ontario, they purchased a condo, and I'm like, why didn't you guys just get a multifamily? It's like the down payment that you put down in that condo was enough to buy a multifamily in one of these other cities.
Mm-hmm.
Their comment was, we didn't know,
Yeah.
right? And so now they're sitting on just a break even condo, right? In a nice area, but still, you know, that cash could have been doing so much more for them.
The opportunity costs
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So, yeah, so those would definitely be my three tips. You know, just get in the market,
Mm-hmm.
but make sure you don't over leverage and make sure you hire somebody to help you
Yeah,
if you don't
it's
have somebody to help you. Yeah, like in the family.
you'll make back that money. I remember when I first did it, like I took 3 credit cards to pay for my coaching,
Ah, okay.
but I made like 5 times that back within
Yeah,
a year
yeah,
by having, right, by having people to guide you and to help
yeah.
you and
Oh, you know,
community.
just having that person guide you, you know, it truncates the time quite a bit, but it's also putting somebody else's mindset in front of you,
Yes.
right? So like a lot of my clients are like, Hong, you know, I'm going through this situation and I can hear you sitting on my shoulder, tapping in my ear. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's what a coach is supposed to do. Like we've communicated so much that now when you go to do something that's contrary to what we've been talking about, there's
Yes.
little me sitting on your shoulder, yapping away, telling you, you know, think about
What
it.
would Hong say in this situation? I have a friend. She uses me as free coaching,
Yeah.
and because she calls me all the time. But she would say, like, I'm walking around this house, Debbie, and I'm hearing, oh, Debbie wouldn't like this, and Debbie would say this.
Yes. Yeah. So it's quite funny because I have a coach that works me through on my judgment of other people. And I'm like, but that's part of me coaching is that I judge people so that I could tell them.
You have to listen and help them, yeah, to figure
Yeah.
out because sometimes, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
it is a fine line there.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, what are you looking forward to next?
So closing on the 40 to 45 unit opportunity and the land development, you know, coaching some more individuals, but really, you know, the summer coming. You know, we're probably going to go camping and check out some campgrounds because I'm looking to acquire campgrounds. And so, you know, just expanding the portfolio and spending some good time with my son over the summer.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Oh, and well, I look forward to seeing you more, and
Yeah,
maybe we can collaborate on something too.
that would be fantastic. I would,
That would be wonderful. And
yeah.
good luck with your raising capital for these present opportunities. So on that topic,
Mm.
how can people get in touch with you for your coaching or for these opportunities or just to learn more about your journey?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the QR code, that is the best way to connect with me. It will connect you to my calendar and we'll hop onto a call. I'll share with you the wonderful opportunities. Like with both of those opportunities, they're registered funds eligible, which is a great thing. So you're not, using up cash. But so they're registered fund eligible. And then if you are interested in any coaching, any sort of analysis work, yeah, the QR code is the best way.
Also will work there too.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to say something that to point at something that you just said about registered funds
Yeah.
thing. So the benefit of you being able to use registered funds instead of your cash or your HELOC is that number one, your cash you could invest in something else where it's not thing. But if you're using your HELOC, you have to account for the fact that you're paying interest on that HELOC.
Yes.
And you have to be able to pay that. While your registered funds are already kind of put there, it's kind of something that you plan on growing and not touching for a while.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really lovely when you can find opportunities in real estate where
Yeah.
you can use
Yeah.
your registered funds.
Yeah. So with the registered funds, it's RSPs and TFSAs, so all of it. And the great thing about using a TFSA is that it's completely tax free, right? Which is so amazing. And so with the RSP, it's not as fantastic, but it's still just as good, right?
Yeah.
Because it's tax free now until
No.
you buy. But if you think about it, you could be compounding your tax-free savings account by 20% year over year over year, right? That's massive,
Mm-hmm.
right? So yeah,
So it's all about sometimes too, it's not it's all about how much you can save rather
mhm,
than how much you make.
yeah,
Like how much, and especially on the less interest paying and less taxes paying.
yes,
And that's more money
absolutely.
in your bank account.
Yeah,
Right? So
yeah, for sure, for
some
sure.
amazing tips, Hung. Thank you so much for your
You're
time. I really
welcome.
appreciate it and all your wisdom that you've shared.
You're
And
welcome. Thank
we'll
you.
connect again soon.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Debbie.
My pleasure.